What is up, everybody? Tom the Dilettante here. Hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to cover for you how and what I packed on my GS Adventure on a 8-day 3,000-mile road trip out west. In this video I'm going to walk you around the bike. We're going to show you the luggage that I used to pack all the crap that I brought along with me. Then we're going to unmount all this stuff, bring it into the shop, and I'm going to show you what I packed. Now keep in mind, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So as you're watching, I'd love to hear from you what you think I did wrong, what I could have done better, or what you might have done differently. Starting with the back, I've got the factory hard box, to which I mounted a couple of rigid MOLLE panels, which in turn hold on to two SW Motec 8-liter bags. I'll walk you through those and might even be doing a separate review on those later. Next, I have a pair of Beaumont soft panniers, one on each side, great for strapping some other things to the top as well. So I have my chair up here, Grail water filter, and again, we'll get through those more in a little bit. On the back, I used the rear seat to store a 13-liter Sea-to Summit dry bag in which I stored a variety of gear. On the front crash bars, I have a pair of Lone Rider dry bags. These things were great, a lot of soft gear in here, which you'll see, so that way in case I do wreck and spill, it's not going to crush and destroy anything in there, and it's also not going to push anything hard into things like the radiator. And as you can see here, I have things like the bear spray readily at hand. And my last piece of luggage is this SW Motec tank bag. It's a Pro Series, so it clasps onto the tank using a neat little mount, which I'll get into also a little bit later. And now, through the magic of editing, let's cut over to the shop. Okay, so this is a lot of shit. In total, I was carrying about 125 pounds worth of gear, and while lighter than a typical second passenger, it was still a lot spread out across the bike. So let's get some of this out of the way. So let's start with the tank bag. In here, I have the basic Quick Reach Essentials. So in addition to being a place where I can put my gloves, I had painkillers, Advil, some extra batteries for the various cameras that I was taking along with me, the America the Beautiful Pass for the National State Parks, and so on, lighters and so forth. I had a neck gaiter, which I would wear just to kind of keep the bugs, sun, and cold off my neck, as well as a beanie cover that I would wear, a microphone for the camera. I had the ZV-1 camera in here from Sony. I'll show a picture of it right here. It's the one I'm using up top above me. A tripod, a PGY Tech tripod, one of my favorite quick tripods. This thing is very articulating and whatnot, and it serves up as a selfie stick as well as a tripod, and I can even hang it from various things. So that was very handy. Headlamp, some of the batteries to replace the batteries in this one. This is a Black Diamond headlamp. It has a spotlight, a floodlight, as well as a red light, so super handy there. And a bug net. In some of the places that I pulled into, there was a lot of mosquitoes, so it was nice to just don a quick baseball cap, put the bug net over me, and not have bugs flying into my face. Also had a phone mount for this tripod in case I wanted to do a selfie stick or set up a tripod with the camera on the phone to take some pictures, and a quick spotlight here. I would also use this bag to store some goodies and some snacks, so some trail mix, some beef jerky and whatnot. Anything that I wanted to access really quickly and easily. Speaking of quick and easy access, on my right side front, this was my Lone Rider bag. I had some bear spray at my disposal in case I needed it. I mean, granted, if a bear stalks up on me, I don't know what I'm going to do, but having this at the ready gave me a nice warm and fuzzy. Anyway, in this bag, I have my rain gear. So, starting first, I have the rain cover for the tank bag, because that bag is not actually waterproof, it's water resistant, but I did test it. If you don't cover it up and it's raining on it, shit in there will get wet. I also have my Gore-Tex gloves. So these are a little bit warmer, but mostly I got them because they're waterproof, so Gore-Tex riding gloves are very handy. And then in here, I have my wet weather gear. So, first I have a North Face rain jacket. This serves two purposes. The jacket that I have, the Revit Sand 4, is not Gore-Tex. It is not waterproof. It comes with a waterproof liner that you would put on underneath it, but it's not very flattering. Sure, you could wear it by itself, but it's kind of ugly. Anyone who knows those liners of those jackets probably knows what I'm talking about. So instead, I opted for this lightweight North Face rain jacket, so I can put it on if it's just raining around camp. I can wear it and not look like an idiot, or I can put it on underneath the jacket and it would waterproof me. Next, I have some rain pants. These are from Built. They're just cheapies. These I picked up from Cycle Gear, some Built rain pants. They slip on over the pants that I had on, and they're just big enough to get over my boots. So I think in the future, I'm going to get a different set of rain pants with a larger bottom here, because, yeah, this was a pain in the butt to put on over my boots, but it worked. Now, I put the rain gear on the front right side because chances are if I needed to pull over, I'd be pulling over on the shoulder, and this way it would put me on the opposite side of traffic in order to don my rain gear. Fortunately, I didn't need to do that in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of a road, I was able to pull over in a gas station or something like that to don rain gear when necessary, but I figured it was good placement nonetheless. Next, on the left side of the bike, same bag, Lone Rider waterproof bag. I had strapped to it an Olight flashlight, tactical light, in case I needed it. I didn't do any riding at night because I didn't feel like having to dodge wildlife, just in case. But this was handy to have, knowing where it was, setting up camp if it was getting a little bit later, or if I just needed to step out and check on the bike at night. So, in this bag, I have a number of things that I actually did not use that much. Let's take a look. Alright, this little doodad was a hanger that I used for my jacket. It's actually pretty cool. It unfolds like this, and now you have a hanger. So a quick little piece of paracord around a tree limb, I was able to hang up my jacket, let it dry at night, and so on. Speaking of which, paracord. Essential item to have. I did use this quite a bit for a number of things. One, to string up some line. Two, to secure the tent down when I thought I had some extra guy lines, but I didn't. So paracord, good thing to have. I chose something that looks like this because it's a little bit more high visible. Nothing trips me up more, literally, than getting some black or olive green paracord, stringing it up around the camp, and then eating shit when I trip on it because I'm not watching where I'm going. Next, I had some flip-flops in that bag for showering and whatnot, or just around the camp, something light, get the boots off and have some footwear. But as you'll see, I actually did bring a separate set of shoes, which were a godsend. Next, I have my fire starting kit. I really like this kit. I brought it camping with me several times. It's got a quick pen light to see in case you're setting up the fire at night, which you usually are. And in here, there is a hemp rope that you use to start the fire, or rather use a ferrite rod to strike against it. Speaking of which, I have the ferrite rod right here. This little Gerber knife for shaving down kindling. But in addition to the kindling, I have these Blackbeard fire starters, which I find super handy. These are great. They're going to start, they're going to burn hot, and they'll even burn well when they're wet. So this little fire starting kit I did use, started a campfire with it. Handy to have, and it packs away nicely in this little MOLLE bag. Next, I have this C2 Summit trash bag. This I also used around camp, so I guess I did use more of this stuff in this side than I thought. This is handy because it's just like a dry bag, but it has some small regular trash bag liners in here. You throw your garbage away, you hang it from a rope or whatnot, you can roll it up, secure it, relatively scent-free. I mean, I wouldn't leave it in your sleeping bag in bear country, but it also allows you to hang it up in case you need to. And when you're done, come up to a gas station, you just pull out the liner, toss it in the garbage can. I have a number of liners at the bottom here folded up, and you just put in a new liner, and you're good to go. So this, instead of having to carry around a regular trash bag, was super handy, because if I needed it, I had it. If I didn't, it folds up and tucks away nice and neat. Next, I had a small tarp. I believe this is a 4 by 7 tarp. I had originally thought to put this, I can string it up from the bike and then run it down for some shade or whatnot. I did not end up using this. Jury is out whether or not I still want to carry a tarp with me. I figure if my tent fails or anything else, a tarp is probably handy to have. The only other thing I could have thought about using this that I didn't need it for was to lay on the ground in front of my tent to have a clean area to step on and whatnot, so I didn't drag crap into my tent. As it stood, the place that I camped was actually pretty clean, so it wasn't an issue. Lastly, in here I have more guy lines and rope. So I have extra stakes and a number of guy lines all set, so in case I did need to guy something out, I would have them ready. This was intended to be used with that tarp, but again, I did not end up using this that much. Hanging off the hard case on the right side, I have a SW Motec 8-liter bag, and right on the outside, I have this REI Co-op towel. Now, this little bad boy is awesome. It's a simple towel. You can hang it off, dry it, dry your hands. If you're doing something around camp, it's just handy to have a towel. And it tucks back in here very nice and neat. So this little thing was my hygiene kit. Starting off up here, we have my hygiene kit, which is going to contain stuff like contact solution, unscented deodorant, Q-tips and teeth picks and stuff like that, a razor, which I never used, extra contact lenses, a toothbrush, sawed off a little bit so that it fits in here, contact case, toothpaste, nail clippers, and so on. So this was a nice little kit to just pop out and take to restroom or whatever and clean up. Then I had some vitamins and some other pills that I need on a regular basis because I'm getting old. Glasses, in case my contacts fail or they just start to suck. I always want to have a backup set of glasses. A trowel in order to dig a shithole when needed. And then finally, a nice little shit bag. So this is a waterproof bag, and in here I have some dude wipes or some combat active wipes, wet wipes for guys or whatever. The biodegradable shit bags. Some of the gel that you would normally put in those biodegradable shit bags. Some more wet wipes and some toilet paper conducive for doing your deed outdoors. Oh, and one other thing that I didn't end up using because I forgot I brought it with me is this little guy. This is a Culo Clean. It's a travel bidet. So you plug this into a regular size water bottle. You can see it's got a couple of different size fittings for different necks and some O-rings. And this little doodad right here is where the water squirts out. So plastic water bottle, plug this in, squeeze it, and fire it up right up Main Street, and you got a clean bum. Same bag, but on the left side of the bike, another SW Motec 8-liter waterproof bag. I had my Leatherman right up front here. This thing I used a lot. Matter of fact, I don't know yet if I want to keep it on the bike like this because it was handy, or just put it on my person, on my belt. Anyway, this bag contains more first aid related items and things that I would need on the fly. In here I have some camp suds, hand sanitizer, and some lotion because, yeah, I'm getting old, and when you're constantly washing your hands with the dirt and crap on it, my hands get dry. So yeah, I like lotion. Sue me. Have some sunblock because I have the complexion of an iPhone flashlight and I'm white as hell. I burn very easy. And then some Repel Sportsman Max for some bug spray. All of these things came in handy and I did use them quite frequently. Also in here is my ouch pouch, so my first aid kit. I have this set up in that particular bag up high on the hard box because that way if I do tip over, it's still accessible. I had thought about putting it in one of my panniers, but in case I fell over on that side, I didn't want to make it difficult to get out in case I needed it. Speaking of panniers, let's take a look at what I had on the left side pannier. So up front, easy to reach, I had a water bottle, which I kept full of ice cold water. That was a lifesaver, having regularly. I actually am going to bring 2 of those next time. That and this SW Motec hydration bag was my main source of drinking water. Also on the back of each pannier, I had these hydro flasks. This was my camp water, so 2 of these for about 2 liters total. Served as camp water for just rinsing my hands, using the boil water for coffee and whatnot. The hydro backpack here is held on by some rock straps. These things are great, highly recommend. Now this backpack I could don and put some things in here. I didn't have too much in here. I had some cigars and my earplug case and whatnot, but the main reason for this was just to have in case I wanted to throw it in my back, go for a hike, I can bring some water and some gear with me. Now the original intent was to actually wear this while I was riding because 1, I would have some hydration on the fly, I wouldn't need to stop, but I didn't find it very comfortable to use, at least not while riding. Reason being, this chest pack that I thought I really wanted, because it would also hold my Garmin InReach Explorer and have it on my person, so in case I did get ejected from the bike, I would have it on me and not be left in a ditch somewhere while my bike kept going a quarter mile down the road. This thing blocked all the airflow into my chest vents, and so it was really, really hot. In Wyoming, I hit 106. In Nebraska, it was high 90s with like 100% humidity. And so I ended up actually strapping this onto the pannier for most of the trip, something that I think I'll do differently next time. I just don't think I'll bring this. I think I'll save it more for hiking. Nonetheless, it's a great bag. It's well built and so forth. I just didn't find that it suited my needs on this trip. In the pannier, I have a couple of D-rings, a locking or regular D-rings just in case I needed them. And this thing from Boomont is actually quite nice. It is not waterproof. I did put that to the test, which is why I put most things in here in waterproof bags. Now up top here is the first thing that I ended up bringing that I wore on the first day, but ended up not wearing on the other days. I might give it another shot in the future, and that's just sort of a lower back support, a kidney belt. I thought sitting on the bike for extended periods of time was going to give my lower back hell, and it turns out, with or without this thing, it felt the same amount of pain. So, TBD whether or not I'll bring that again. Also in here, I had my AeroPress, my carbon fiber tripod, a holster for the MMP40 that I brought on here, which I cannot show on YouTube because they have certain, rules. my tent, pillow and air mattress, sleeping bag, extra blanket, and some clothes. So this pannier was basically set up to be my main camping bag. So in order as I pulled it out, you can see I have my tent. So this has the tent, the ground tarp or whatever, the stakes, the poles, and so forth. So this was my tent. I actually need to set this up because I put it away wet because I was camping in the rain. This bag contains my air mattress as well as a pillow. So I'll show you what those are. I'm going to do a separate review on my camping setup for those of you that have asked. So this is the Philo pillow, the Nemo Philo pillow, I think. Great thing. And then this is the air mattress that I have. This is a Thermarest Neo Air. Actually proved quite nice. So 2 pieces of gear that I was influenced into buying based off of other YouTubers, and I am grateful that I did because these are actually well thought out, great pieces of kit. Next is a CISA Summit sleeping bag. I actually had a different sleeping system in mind that I was going to bring. I'll share that with you at a different time, but it turned out it was just a little too bulky, so I ended up going with a small, lightweight one. This thing compacts really nice, but it's a mummy bag. I just don't like mummy bags, but it did the trick. This Get Out gear is a down puffy blanket that squishes down nicely, so when it was hot, I could basically just lay out my sleeping bag and I wouldn't sleep in it, I would sleep on it and just lay this blanket over me. Great piece of gear, squishes down very nice. Anything down is nice and portable. AeroPress coffee maker, of course, can't go anywhere without coffee, so this was very handy. Tripod for when I needed it. And then in here, some quick pieces of clothing. So I just had a spare change of pants. I am not going to go on a trip like this again without this. It was great to have another lightweight set of pants to change into at camp, just so I wasn't always rooting around in my riding gear. And of course some boxers and some thermals. So I'm a big fan of merino wool. I found that it worked great. I was able to wear the same merino wool t-shirt for several days in a row. Even when I was sweating on it, I would hang it up at night, it would dry out and it didn't stink. So thermals, underwear, merino wool, shirt, long sleeve, short sleeve, as well as long thermals for the bottoms too. So great stuff to have. That all came in my camping pannier. Next pannier over, this is on the right side. So here, again, I have another one of these 1 liter hydro flasks for camp water. And on the front here, I thought this would be cool to have just in case I needed it. I didn't end up needing it. I wanted to try it out, but I chickened out because I didn't feel like getting, some kind of bacterial or viral infection. This is a Grail water filter. I will try this out sooner or later, but in case I ended up in the backcountry somewhere and completely out of water, the thought was I would have this, be able to dip into a brook or something, filter out some water, drink it, filter some water, dump it in my other containers and whatnot, and just basically have an emergency source. On the back here, I have a last-minute item. I picked up some WD-40 from a gas station because the SW Motec tank bag that I have, it works great until it doesn't. And I'll do a separate review on that one. Basically, I would only recommend it if you're not planning it and taking it off-road. Because when I took it off-road and you're kicking up a lot of dust that has somewhat ferrous, in other words, has some iron, some metal into it, that tank bag holds on and latches predominantly by magnets. And all that ferrous dust just got attracted into those magnets. And long story short, I was worried I was going to have to do some field surgery and cut that thing off my tank because I couldn't get the damn thing off to get my gas cap out. So turns out I was able to get it off. I ended up riding with it on the back until I was able to pick up some WD-40. This is not a permanent solution. This is going to collect dust in its own right. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get a different tank bag if I have to go off-road. It's fantastic for the city. I would still recommend it because it's a really well-built, nice bag. But after taking it in the trails, not my first bag of choice at all. Next, looking at here, so I've got strapped to the top of this pannier, again using these Rox straps, which I highly, highly recommend. These are amazing, durable and strong, is my camp chair. So I was debating whether or not to bring my smaller chair, but I ended up not wanting to forego this particular creature comfort because this one has a high back and a little bit of a lumbar support. It packs down small enough, and it was fantastic to have set up, sit back, kick back, relax, enjoy a sunset, sunrise with a cup of coffee. Even though it is a little bulky for moto camping, I will still be bringing this one again. Inside this not waterproof pannier are some more waterproof bags containing some essential kit that I decided to take with me. 1. A set of shoes. So I know it seems a little overkill, but the separate set of pants and a comfortable set of shoes to go walking around in was a lifesaver. I do not regret bringing these one bit, even though they are a little awkward to pack. Camp hatchet. So yeah, you'd think it'd be in my camping bag, but it just didn't balance well. So you figure each one of these panniers, I told you I had about 125 pounds total. So the left pannier came in at 38.6 pounds. The right pannier came in at 32.4 pounds. So together about 70 pounds, and I did my best to balance the load, because otherwise having an off-balance saddlebags was just going to be a little awkward. It was awkward enough as it was. Next, some more articles of clothing. So in here, I had a laundry bag, which I need to take with me now and go do laundry. Some extra socks, some extra underwear, and some more merino wool t-shirts. Again, either all synthetic or merino wool, because that is how I roll. Piece of gear that I didn't end up using actually was a large towel, but I still am going to bring this with me in the future. This I got from REI. It's basically one giant towel. It's big enough to go around my fat ass, so if I do want to take a shower in the middle of nowhere or just douse myself with some water or whatnot, I can wrap this around me, and it's super absorbent. It's a great towel. Turns out I didn't end up really using it that much. Speaking of things that I did not use that much because I was not far enough from civilization to worry about it, was this Sea to Summit pocket shower. Someday when I spend more time off the grid, I am going to bring this because this seems like a pretty cool piece of kit. Lightweight, compact, holds water, it'll get hot, and then you basically extend this little shower nozzle and it'll work. So I'm going to try to look for an opportunity to actually use this, field test it, and I'll do a review on it as well. Next is my camp kitchen. So after camp is set up, the tent, the sleeping bag, and so on, I have my quick camp kitchen. So this, I try to keep as small and light as possible. So I have a dirty spork, titanium spork. Get to that in a minute. I have my Stanley cup, which has 2 pieces of fuel, which need to be dried out by now. You can tell I put this stuff away wet. It's kind of nasty. A fuel stand. And this little Sea to Summit kit, which is pretty cool, it contains 3 pieces of gear. It has a cup that extends, handy. It has a bowl, which was good for things like oatmeal and soup. And then it has this pot, also with built-in measuring cups. Now, you can put this directly on the burner provided that you're doing liquid. As long as you have water in here covering all the metal, then you can boil something in here. But I ended up basically just using those freeze-dried meals, boiling the water, and serving it up there. Which, by the way, I'll try to do another review on because I found this fettuccine Alfredo. I can't remember the name of the manufacturer, but it was actually really good for freeze-dried food. Nice thing about this lid is that it also has a strainer at the top. So I don't know why more residential things don't come with a strainer on it. Maybe I'm just not shopping in the right place, but having that all is super handy. Also in here is a towel and a cutting board in case I needed it. And these other pieces here, this is my little pocket rocket from MSR. So this is the camp stove that I like to use. Pretty handy. And then new that I tested this time around was this Thermacell mosquito repellent thing. So this guy, I have 2 fuel cans here, one for this and one for my stove. This thing actually worked really well. Mosquitoes were bugging me by a picnic table, so I just put this thing on, lit it up, and yeah, it's supposed to create like a 15-foot bubble around you. So this, along with some extra mosquito repellent doodads here. I think this is something that I'll be bringing with me on every camping trip now because it doesn't take up a lot of space. It does hog up one of your fuel cans, but I found it to be immensely practical for keeping the bugs out of my face when I was trying to make some dinner. Next in here, something that I am very grateful that I brought with me. This is a Nelson Rig motorcycle cover. It's the most compact one that I could find that would fit my big ass bike. But when I did have to stop at a hotel or even at the Airbnbs, or if I knew it was going to rain overnight, I did pull this thing out and toss it over. So it served a couple of functions. One, obviously, if it's going to rain, it keeps all the crap off the bike. But 2, if I was parking at a hotel or an Airbnb where there was other foot traffic going by, I considered this a separate layer of security. Got a lot of crap on the bike, and even though I pulled the panniers and other things off the bike and brought them into the room with me for safety, this thing just helped protect the things that were still stuck to the bike. The way I see it was out of sight, out of mind, so any passers-by wouldn't be tempted to pull something off the bike. Another thing that I bought, thanks to an influencer on YouTube, is this Giant Loop 1-gallon water bag. This is actually pretty cool. I just didn't end up needing it or using it. So this giant loop bag, it's got some webbing here that you can attach stuff to, but you can see it packs up and rolls away. If you want a 1 gallon jug of water, you have to carry a 1 gallon jug. This thing takes up very little space, so that if you're going out and you know you need extra water, you can unfold this thing, fill it up, and then in the bottom here, I might do a separate thing on this once I use it, it's got a little spout. So you can really just hang this up off the handlebar or something, pull this spout, it'll dribble water, plug it back in, and you're good to go. So a very practical design, I thought, which is why I bought it. And I think I'm still going to carry it with me in case I ever do go to a place where I'm going to need capacity for extra water. I just didn't end up using it on this trip. Next was a food bag. So I said that this particular pannier weighed, what, 32.4 pounds? It probably weighed closer to 35 with the food that I packed in it. I just didn't replenish my stores. But you can probably tell I'm a huge fan of these dry bags now. Sea to Summit makes some good ones. And this just contained the food that I brought with me, as well as coffee. So nice thing about this and the trash bag is that when I'm at camp, you can roll these things up. They're relatively, they are waterproof, and I'm hoping they're relatively scent proof. But even if not, when you put them together, you can either put a rope through here or through here, lash them together, and then hang them from a tree away from your camp in case you're camping in bear country. So these are great to have. That was my food. It came in here, obviously next to the kitchen. Lastly, in a bag that did get wet because it was not in one of those dry bags, was some pieces of gear that I thought I would need from a tool point of view. So I have a roll of duct tape. I have the plugs for the jumper battery pack that I brought with me, some high heat epoxy right there, a tire repair kit, which is got a little bit wet now, some more paracord, some bongo ties, another thing of duct tape, tire plugs, tire plug equipment, tire pressure gauge, tire plug lube, extra valve stems and a valve core remover, and of course the ubiquitous heavy-duty zip ties. So these were just some extra pieces of gear that I thought I might need if I needed to do expedient trail repairs. Fortunately, nothing broke. That's not true. Something did break and I had to go to a dealer for it, but that's a different story. Nothing broke that I was capable of fixing with the shit that I had on me, I'll put it that way. But nonetheless, it's good to have these pieces of gear. I think tire plugs are a must-have, zip ties and duct tape and some high-temperature epoxy. Let me know what you think. In my mind, can't go wrong with those pieces of gear. That wraps up that pannier. Next on the list, we have the factory hard box on the back. This thing came in weighing around 25 pounds. Got some stickers, and these are the MOLLE panels that I put in the side. And in here, we have a variety of things. I actually have this pack that comes right out, which is pretty cool, and an extra dry bag in case I needed it. So this I was able to take off the bike. I could use it as a table or whatnot. And in here, we have all these random gear. So first and foremost, I had my cold weather gear. Rain gear was sitting on the side in the front, and cold weather gear was in the back in case I needed it. I have an Arc'teryx jacket. So this was a nice liner inside of the jacket or something to wear around camp when it was cool. And I also had a REI puffy down vest. Something also kind of helped keep the core warm when I'm riding along. Camp gloves, so some lightweight gloves, very handy, and some wool socks, as well as another smart wool long trouser thing. So that was in there. And I had also my various maps, so a couple BDR maps and some paper maps, some analog ones. Nice to have. Also in here is my ham radio, so I had a Yaesu FT5D that I can either put on the bike or take with me, and the antennas are in here. I had a rubber duck antenna as well as a signal stick whip. Next was also some charging cables and whatnot that I would need, so various adapters, things that I could use to dump media on the fly. Next I had my tent light, my little LED lantern, so this thing came in handy. Worked very well, holds a charge for a good long time. For extra power, I had this Anker power bank. So this thing was really nice. It can fast charge my phone, fast charge my laptop, and anything like that. My GoPro, this is the chin-mounted GoPro. It ended up breaking halfway through the trip, fixed multiple times, and at the end of it, I just said, fuck it. A bag of extra camera gear. So in here, I had things like the GoPro charger, a little arm to hold things on, as well as some of these aperture lights. Now these things, aside from being good for shooting film in low light, they actually made great camp lights. So you can turn them on. I had a red light on this one. because we were just, you know, cooking by it at night. But you can change colors, can change temperature, and so on. So, camera gear. In here we have my paper map cover. So this is from SW Motec. It can hold a tablet or maps. It worked out pretty well until midday or certain parts of the day when all this thing was really good for was reflecting the sun directly into my eyes. So I don't think I'm going to be carrying this with me again. A couple of notebooks that I use. One I was going to use for Parks in the Air. Another one was just to kind of document various things on my trip. Finally, in here, I had two laptops. One work laptop. It's not mine personal laptop. It's from the company I'm currently contracted with. So that was a ThinkPad. Had to do some work on the road. And then currently being used for this film is my MacBook Air. So two laptops and all that. That was what was in here. And I also used this to dump dead batteries, so I knew to charge them later on. A pen, and what else is in here? And a spare headlamp. Now, some of you might have noticed a slight wardrobe change, and that's because I forgot to shoot video on this particular case the other day. So now we should be good. Are we good? We're good. Back to the original footage. Lastly, the 13-liter dry bag that I had on my back seat. This is more stuff that I liked to have on me that I did not need. First and foremost was my radio. I had really hoped to do some Parks on the Air activations. I haven't done any yet, and I wanted to pop my Parks in the Air cherry on this trip. Turns out that I underestimated how much time I was going to be spending on the road. Every day I spent between 6 and 9 hours driving, and I also underestimated the toll that took on my body. So I did not really feel like doing much else than just kind of chilling out. But I did have this with me. I will do a review on this one later because I do intend to do a Parks on the Air activation someday. This contains stuff for my radio. The radio of choice that I have with me is the Lab 599 TX500. So this is a cool little bad boy. I've tested it out in my backyard and it does work. And I have this Pac-12 antenna that I'll be using in the near future. So this kit contains everything I need from radio to antenna. I just did not end up using it, regrettably. Also in here, which makes this thing so damn heavy, is my Bioenno battery pack for said radio. This bag in total weighed about 16 pounds. I have a air compressor, so this Moto pump. It plugs right into the battery tender, the the SAE port for the battery on the bike. So I had that in case I did need to service it. I had my Gulu portable jumper pack. That's what the battery cables were for there. So this served main purpose of jumping my battery in case I was stupid enough to leave something on, but two, it also is another emergency battery pack for power in case I needed to recharge something. And then lastly in here, that weighed a fair amount, was my toolkit. So I tried to pack light on here. I'll go through and share with you sort of my toolkit of choice, but I have things in here like tire irons in case I needed to pull the tire. But your standard gear, right, wrenches, sockets, Torx heads, anything that I would need to do the majority of maintenance on that bike, pulling oil plugs, pulling off body panels, and so forth. So tried to keep it relatively relevant. I did not need to use it, fortunately, but it's certainly a peace of mind to have, and I don't think I would travel without a toolkit of some kind, especially not one traveling so far as I did. So that's everything that I brought with me. I know these videos can get quite long, so I did my best to try to speak quickly but clearly and cover as much ground as possible. If you're an experienced moto camper or experienced at packing light, let me know if you saw anything that I absolutely did not need, or more importantly, if there's something that I failed to bring that you think I absolutely should have. The thing that I like most about giving this stuff a shot is that it's a learning experience. So from this one trip, I've learned things that I would have done differently. First and foremost, I don't think I would have put 25 pounds in that hard box in the back, because even though it's much lighter than a passenger if you're riding two up, because of its placement, what I found is that it does cause quite a bit of undulation if you're going left and right. The bike felt more wobbly than it did without it. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you found this interesting and or informative. Again, if you saw anything that you would have done differently, please leave them in the comments for myself and others below. I am now going to give that poor bike a much needed bath and clean up all this crap that I just threw all over my garage. So until the next time, this is Tom the Dilettante saying keep on tinkering and keep on learning. Thank you for joining me. Take care.